You are now listening to the Astral Hour. I'm your host, Astral Meadow. Join me as we take a glimpse into the mysterious. Welcome, everyone. Today I'm joined with Feng Shui consultant, author, and speaker, Moni Castaneda. She has integrated her modern Western architectural training with ancient Feng Shui knowledge to create the 9 steps to Feng Shui system, a step-by-step method to study and practice this art. She also helps her clients decorate and beautify the inside and outside of their homes so that they can live a life they love in a home that makes them proud. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me over.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I'm very excited to explore this topic with you. So thank you for taking
Yeah.
this time.
Mhm.
So for those who don't know you, could you share a little bit about your personal journey and what sparked your passion for feng shui with us?
Sure. I was born in Quito, Ecuador. Ecuador is a small country in South America. It's about the size of the state of Colorado. And it's on the Pacific coast. There's a little bit of the Amazon basin, and in between, you have the Andes Mountains. So I grew up in a city that was 9,200 feet above sea level. And I always had a strong interest in space, things that you don't expect a child to do. But I remember when I visited relatives, I would spend time organizing their drawers. And when I was very young, I had a doll house, and I was only interested in rearranging the furniture. I wasn't interested in playing little scenes, with the dolls and the family, and I made other little girls cry because I only wanted to rearrange the furniture. And so I think for every person's life, when you find your path, you can look back into your childhood and find something that you did that was kind of weird or different, and that only made sense after you find your path. But in any case, I studied architecture and I graduated as an architect in Ecuador in July. Then in August, I moved to the United States. And when I went to apply for my first job, I found out I would not be able to practice in the United States unless I went back to school all over again. And I had been in school in Ecuador. Architecture was 6.5 years. And so the last thing I wanted to do was go back to school. Um, so a friend told me, well, why don't you look into feng shui? And I didn't know what feng shui was. But then I went and looked at it and I fell in love with it. But I was also very confused because there's so many different schools, they do things different. I got all the books I could get my hands on, and things were not just different, they were contradictory. And so that was very upsetting. I was trying to apply things to my home because I really believed it could help. But nothing ever made sense once you try to put it in practice. And so around that time, I got back in touch with a friend who I had met in Ecuador, but she was from another country. And we had not seen each other in a few years. During that time, she had become a practitioner of ancient Chinese medicine. And so she told me, did you know that feng shui and acupuncture have the same roots? And it's the same thing with Qigong, the same thing with martial arts. All of the practices and arts in ancient East Asia, they all have the same source. And so I started studying ancient East Asian medicine to make sense of feng shui. There's two things that bothered me about feng shui. One was the contradictions, and the other thing was that the people that I met that told me I have completely feng shui my home, the homes did not look good. They just look strange, right? And I thought something has been lost in translation here, because when you look at the buildings of ancient China or Japan or Korea, they're just breathtakingly beautiful. So something was being lost in translation. And with the help of my friend, I studied the principles of ancient Chinese medicine. And with that, I created a system to apply feng shui, which is called the 9 Steps to Feng Shui System, which is based on the 9 principles of the 9 universal laws of ancient East Asian philosophy and the 9 principles of healing.
That's awesome. I didn't connect the dots that they all overlap, like the medicine and also the feng shui, and then the
Yeah,
all
and
the wellness. I mean, but it's like
yes.
inside and outside both reflect that. So it would make sense the core principles would be similar, but I just hadn't actually made that connection. So
Yeah,
I love
and
that.
if you actually have watched period movies or series that happen in ancient China, you will see that sometimes the town doctor is also the martial artist teacher, is also the calligraphy teacher. Yeah,
Right, right. Like multifaceted. Um,
yeah, because all these arts share the same principles.
right. That's really cool. Could you give us just a little overview on some of those principles that go into feng shui and share a little bit about its origins with us?
Yes, yes, of course. And so the first principle of healing is that there has to be wholeness, right? If you think about in the body, when a person has lost an organ, they usually need to make an adjustment. If a person has, for example, had their gallbladder removed, they're no longer whole because that gallbladder was doing certain functions in the body. So they have to make adjustments regarding the way they eat, what time they eat. They may need to take supplements that help them with digestion and things like that. And even though you have extracted the organ, a person without the gallbladder can still go and have a really full, complete, happy life. Because even though the physical restoration is not always possible, you cannot regrow the gallbladder, but the energetic restoration of health is always possible. And so in Feng Shui, you want your floor plan to be whole, to be a complete square or a complete rectangle. And if it is an irregular shape, if it's an L shape, a C shape, or an irregular shape, we say, well, that floor plan is incomplete. And even though unless you do a remodel, that home is going to stay incomplete physically, you can do things that energetically complete it. So you no longer feel the lack. What that does for people is that people start living life from a place of strategy instead of living life from a place of excuses. So one problem that many people in the world have is that when something goes wrong, they think of excuses why it went wrong. If they want to do something that they haven't been able to do yet, they come up with excuses, right? Excuses are not reasons. If they were reasons, we would not call them excuses, right? We just call them reasons. And so when a person completes their floor plan, when we're working with them in my system, the person starts seeing that right here, right now, in the present moment, they already have everything that they need to achieve their dreams and achieve their goals. It's like when you get a puzzle, when you get a puzzle box and you open it up and it was sealed from the factory. And even though you're putting all the little pieces together, you know that all the pieces are there. You don't yet know what it looks like. It's not complete, but you have this certainty that in the end, it's going to be complete. It's similar with your life. So imagine that you have gotten a puzzle in a thrift store and it's an open box, right? And so you don't actually know that all the pieces are there. And you might go through all the trouble of putting the puzzle together to find out that one or two pieces are gone. And so that's the attitude a person tends to have when they have not completed the floor plan. When the floor plan is complete, the person needs to have this other attitude that everything's in the box. I have not completed all my goals. I have not realized all my dreams yet, but I have everything that I need to get there. So that's the first one, that's wholeness. The second principle of healing is that there needs to be balance. In Asian culture, this is known as yin and yang, right? So yin literally means the dark side of the hill, and yang means the light side of the hill. So the light side of the hill is dry, is warm, and it has a lot of light. The sunny side of the hill, right? And the dark side of the hill, the shady side of the hill, is colder, darker, and more humid. But in Chinese medicine, they refer to excesses or deficiencies. For example, if a person is hyperthyroid, it means there's excess function of the thyroid gland. And if they're hypothyroid, that means their thyroid gland is sluggish, right? And so if the person has hypertension, that means their blood pressure is too high. If like hypotension, that means their blood pressure is too low. So anything that you could describe as too much or too little is a problem. You need to restore that to a point of balance. And in the home, how that translates is that some things may be too steep. For example, if you have a staircase with no landing, it is too steep. If you have a long hallway that is also narrow, you have an excess in the length and you have a deficiency in the width. So what these spaces do to a person is that they make you live a dramatic life. You are making too much of the things that happen. You are not seeing things objectively. Your emotional reactions are like a pendulum going from one side to the other, and you have no control. And so what we do in Feng Shui is we make that hallway feel shorter. We make the hallway feel wider. For example, you don't put a mirror at the end of the hallway because that would make the hallway twice as long. You put a mirror on the side of the hallway where it becomes twice as wide, which is a good thing, right? And so, but it comes in other things. For example, if you live in a home that is really, really old, it may feel outdated, right? And so you correct that by bringing in some modern things into the home. So we use the yin and yang, which is the principle of opposites, to bring balance into a home. It also applies to ceiling height. You may have a basement where the ceiling is too low. You may have a great room where you have double height ceiling. And so those things feel uncomfortable to the body. Principle number 3 is the principle of qi. Qi is life force or ether. In Star Wars, they called it the force. So it is the life force. And you want to make sure that this life force comes into your home and it charges your home with positive energy, which is the source of good luck. A home that is not visited by this energy gets depleted. And I think that the best comparison that I can make here is if you've ever been to a home where they had a dining area in the kitchen or like a breakfast table and a formal dining room. And the feeling that you get when you walk into that space is completely different. When you go into the daily dining area, it feels warm, happy, charged with energy, with love. But if you go to the other dining room, which is the formal dining room, it is empty, it lacks energy, and it feels kind of abandoned, right? And so that is what you want to work with. You want to make sure no places in your home feel abandoned. You also want to make sure that there's no places in your home where the energy feels chaotic. And let me give you an example. Have you ever lived in a home or visited a home that there was a certain place that or certain spot that always got messy? That no matter what you did, that was messy.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's probably a spot where their energy is too chaotic. And you may also have experienced spots that get cluttered, and that's probably a space where the energy is stagnant. So what you want to make sure is enough positive energy comes into the home and then visits the home in a gentle way so that your whole home is charged. This is one of the things that I tell people when they're working with vision boards. Have you ever met a person making a vision board that didn't put a picture of a mansion on it? You have?
I haven't done too many vision board things, but
Uh, like I think I have never seen a vision board where somebody didn't put like a really large house or a mansion on it. And actually in Feng Shui, the standard of happiness for Feng Shui is the house that feels a little small. It's better than the house that is a little large or too large. And that is because you cannot charge, as a family, you're a family of 4, right?
mm-hmm.
As a family of 4, you can only charge about 2,600 square feet. More than that, you're going to have areas of the home that are abandoned. The exception of that would be if you have a business, right? And so if you have separated a section of the house where you run your business and that activity of running your business charges that place. They actually did a study where they followed 36 families in the United States, and they had some kind of tracker so that they could see how much space they were actually using in their homes. And the answer was always 1,800 square feet. A family with an 1,800 square foot home used all of it. And these were families with 2 or 3 kids. A family with 2,500 square feet used 1,800. The family with 4,600 square feet used 1,800. The family with 7,000 square feet used 1,800. 1,800 is like the magic number. How much space a family of 4 or 5 can actually charge. And so I think it is important for us to change our perception of what it is to be wealthy, what it is to live a good life, right? And so you produce a certain amount of chi as a person. You bring in some chi when you come into the house. You love things. So you have little ones, right?
Yes.
And does any of your little ones have a favorite toy or a favorite blanket?
Yes.
Yeah. And so, if that toy got lost and you went and bought the exact same toy and you even wrapped it up a little so it looks used, you know that your child would be able to tell it's not their toy. And every parent knows that, right? And the reason is that they have charged that toy with their own energy, with their own chi. So we charge the objects that we use. And that's why in Feng Shui we say you need to live with objects that you use and love, because otherwise you won't charge them with positive energy. If you have things in your home that are not beautiful, they're not going to get charged, they're not going to get used. And so step number 3 is about making sure that this life force is circulating through the home like it has to be circulating through the body. In acupuncture, homeopathy, and chiropractic, which are true ways of healing, right? You know that problems start when the life force gets stagnant, when the life force is not circulating. So the true healers of these, what we call today alternative therapies, they seek to remove blocks to the life force. So it's the same thing in the home. You want to make sure you remove blocks to the life force and you allow the life force to visit every room in a home in a gentle way. So the first 3 steps that I'm talking about, the first 3 principles, they are associated with the way the building was built. So they wouldn't be very different depending on who lives in a home. People will still have the same problems. For example, a huge problem in Feng Shui is when you open the door and the first thing you see is a staircase. That would be a problem no matter who lives there. If it's a family, if it's a couple, if it's a single person, that wouldn't matter. So these first 3 steps of wholeness, balance, and life force, these are connected, they're tied together with the way the building was built. So the next 3 I'm going to talk about, they have to do with interior design. And interior design are the major decisions that you have made in your home. Decisions that once they're made, they're either hard, complicated, or expensive to change. For example, the color of your walls, right? The kind of floor that you have, the kind of finishing that you have on your doors or on your kitchen cabinets. And so step number 4 has to do with rhythm and cycles. Cycles are what give the universe order. We have days because the Earth rotates on its own axis. We have years because the Earth goes around the sun, right? And so in ancient East Asian medicine, cycles are super important. For example, the Chinese doctor might say, you need to come to see me every 3 days, or once a week, or once a month, things like that, right? But it's also knowing what to do according to the season. For example, we know that clearing the body, detoxifying the body is easier in the spring and in the fall. Also in the home, you have to make sure that you have a correct relationship with nature. And this is mostly done through your windows and doors, but mostly through your windows. In the United States, there is a like an allergy to curtains and window treatments. there's so many people I have met that they said, I don't want any window treatments of any kind. I hate curtains. I don't want lights. I don't want anything. And this happens especially if you have a really beautiful view out your windows, or I don't want to cover that up. But what happens is that if you don't have any kind of window treatment at night, that beautiful view just becomes a black rectangle, right? And in every single thriller that you can watch, there's a scene where the dangerous person is looking at the happy scene of family life because they don't have curtains, right?
Mm.
And so curtains or window treatments, not mini blinds. Mini blinds are bad feng shui, but they give you the ability to control how much light comes in your house, how much sunshine comes in your house, how much fresh air comes in the house, and also what you are going to see from the outside and what you're going to allow people on the outside to see within. And so rhythm is about control, about being in control of your life and your luck, because good luck is being in the right place at the right time. And so windows, especially window treatments, clocks, and calendars are what comes in, making sure you are connected to the rhythms of life, because if you are connected to the rhythms of life, things are easier. It's a lot easier to plant a garden in the spring than it is in the summer. And it would be pointless to try and plant a garden in the winter in most regions, right? And so you have to have this alignment, this attunement with nature to make things easier to be luckier. Step number 4, or principle number, no, I just said 4. Step number 5, or principle number 5, is about the 5 elements. So in our Western culture, right, in our astrology, we say there's air, earth, fire, and water. And then some people add a 5th element that would be ether. In East Asia, they have water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. And you can't compare them. So when you say fire or water in the Eastern element, it doesn't mean the same thing as when you say fire or water in our horoscope. So it's important to say that, because the 5 elements in East Asian healing have to do with these essences or energies that work together in a system of checks and balances. And so water feeds wood, which is not the plank of wood, but the live tree or the forest. You could say woods, right? So water feeds the woods. The woods feed fire. Fire produces ashes, which are earth. Earth yields metals, and metals carry water. So it's a cycle of life. It's also related to the organs. Are you familiar with the relationship between the elements and the organs?
Not directly.
Okay, so I feel like I should share a little bit of this, right?
Yes, please.
So this is related to the organs in the body, like the way that you would use it in acupuncture or Chinese herbalism. So the water element would be the kidneys and the bladder. The wood element would be the liver and the gallbladder. The fire element would be the heart and the small intestine. The earth element would be the stomach and the spleen. And the metal element would be the lungs and the large intestine. So in East Asian healing, they know that the bladder and the kidneys support the liver and the gallbladder, and that the liver and gallbladder support the heart and the small intestine, that the heart and the small intestine supports the stomach and the spleen, that the stomach and the spleen support the lungs and the large intestine. So when they do diagnostics in ancient East Asian healing, and somebody is suffering from a problem in an organ, they don't just look at that organ. They look at what's happening with the element that should be, or the organ that should be supporting that organ, right? So it's a complex system. The way that translates into Feng Shui, or the spaces, is that we want to create a harmony of colors, shapes, and materials. When I was younger and I was going through the School of Architecture, I was known for knowing colors, right? And so my classmates would come over and would tell me, can you help me do the colors in this room for this watercolor? Can you help me do this floor plan? Like when their teacher had told them, their colors were bad and they needed to redo a project, my classmates would come to me, right? And I kind of knew what to do, but I wasn't so good at teaching it, right? But once you learn colors through Feng Shui, you will never make a color mistake again. Through learning the 5 elements in Feng Shui, I understood, okay, this is why this color looks next to this color in this proportion, but not in the other way. So for example, if you have a lot of white with a little bit of red, that looks great. But if you have a lot of red with a little bit of white, that looks off, right? And it's all related to how the elements work and support with each other. So once you know the 5 elements, you can create harmony of shapes, but also, of colors, but also shapes and materials. And one thing that happens is that when there's clashes, if you can remember ever walking into a space where the colors were really clashing or really weird, do you remember a reaction in your body?
It's like a repulsion. Like,
Yes, it's like you cringe, right? Oh
yeah.
my gosh. And so can you imagine if you have colors clashing in your home and every time you walk into your home, you kind of cringe? That's going to have a negative effect in your life, right? So we produce harmony. Now, what this does in people's lives is that people start getting along better. Because that cringe reaction that we have when things are clashing with each other has a cumulative effect that makes us irritable. And when we're irritable, we fight with others more. So then we go to step number 6, right? And remember, this is all that we've been talking about. 4, 5, and 6 is all about interior design. And so when we go to step number 6, we're talking about family photos, all photos that you have in the home, but especially family photos. Then we're talking about mirrors and art. So let's start with mirrors. In Feng Shui, we believe that all mirrors should tell you the truth. Because in the body, right, in ancientization healing, this step 6 is about words, messages, and symbols. Do you know that ancient doctors actually would write poems as prescriptions? Isn't that fascinating?
That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, they would write poems or do calligraphy art, and that was the prescription. They would tell their patient, go look at this every day at this time, look in a certain direction. For example, if a person had lung issues, they would do a drawing for them and say, meditate looking at this image in the afternoon towards the sunset, right? And so it's all about language. And the Chinese had a saying that goes like, everything in your home is talking to you. Make sure those things have nice things to say. So when you have a mirror that is distorting the image, that is fragmenting the image like a mirror, that is a mosaic, right? That's not a true reflection of life. It's kind of scary. Even the bevels that a lot of fancy mirrors have on the edges, those split the image. So in Feng Shui, you don't want any mirrors that split the image or that distort the image, because you want a true reflection of life and of yourself. You also don't want any mirrors that are going to duplicate horrible things. If you have an eyesore, you don't want that duplicated. You also don't want mirrors in places where the mirror could scare you. For example, if you have a mirror at the bottom of a staircase, one night you're going to come running down the stairs and you're going to think somebody's coming at you, right? So you don't want mirrors where they could scare you. And family photos. Family photos are so important because they have to do with boundaries and respect. I actually, when I'm working with clients, I actually have these templates over how to do family photos to create harmony, respect, and healthy boundaries with extended family or with excess, like especially if you share children. And so I have these templates that we use to harmonize relationships. And a lot of people that have done this working with me, they have found that through the process of choosing their family photos, there was a lot of healing and forgiveness. And the way you place your family photos is also super important, because when I walk into a home, I can do one walk through the home and I know who the favorite child is. And when I tell the parents, they're like, I've never told that to anybody. Like, how could you tell? Even my husband doesn't know that, right? And it's because people choose the frames, the location, the type of photo, how much they pay the photographer, all of that shows whether there's a preference for one child over the others. And if I can tell as Feng Shui consultant, the kids can tell too, right? So it's super important when you do your family photos to do equally for each child, to make sure they're in the same location, that they have the same kind of frame, that they were taken by the same photographer. Because otherwise, that's going to be a problem. Another problem is I have been to homes where the children were treated like gods. There were so many pictures of the kids, that the children were actually treated like deities. The walls were turned into altars for the homes. And in those homes, there was no discipline. In those homes, the kids got away with things they shouldn't get away with. There was no sense of hierarchy. So the healthy family has a sense of hierarchy, right? And then we come to art. Art can tell so many things about a person. Art can make you happy. It can make you sad. It can make you scared. We use art in Feng Shui to create certain effects and to guide the flow of qi or life force. And so because qi follows attention, you can use art to make sure that the qi circulates throughout your whole home. And you should obviously avoid any images that are scary or too sad. It's just important that you give yourself the messages, because step number 6 is all about language and symbols. So you choose what your home tells you. When you don't consciously make choices so that your home tells you positive things, you could end up self-sabotaging because you're putting things up that are not good for you. So for example, you might be looking for a partner, but your home is full of images of single women. You're telling the universe that you want to celebrate being a single woman. And there's nothing wrong with celebrating being a single woman if that's what you want. But if that's not what you want, then you need to choose different kind of art. And so these 3 that I talked about, they're all about interior design, which are mainly the finishings and finishes of the home, major decisions that you have made. And the next 3 I'm going to talk about are the things that are the most mobile. Okay. And so step number 7 is about simplicity. So it includes decluttering, but also beautifying. Because I don't know if you remember when that book came out by Marie Kondo, and then she did a documentary on Netflix. And all the garbage collection companies in the whole United States were overwhelmed because people were throwing away so many things. Do you remember that?
No, that's
Remember that? It was in the news all over the place, because she had this idea that if anything doesn't give you joy, you should trash it. But the problem is, if you do not learn how to stop yourself from buying things you don't need at the store, you're always going to have clutter. If you don't always buy things that are good quality, you're going to have to replace them. So there's a connection between clutter and consumerism that if you do not address, you're never going to feel happy, because you're always going to be buying things like retail therapy, what they say, right? Mm-hmm. And so what we want with our clients when we're working on consultation, we want them to make space for the things they really feel passionate about. We don't want them to declutter so they are left with little. We don't want them to declutter so they have nothing. We're not after minimalism. Feng Shui is not minimalist. We want their home to be full of things they love and appreciate. And we want to make room in their homes so that they can do the things they really want to do, right? And so for some person that might be, they want to do quilts. And so maybe by decluttering, we can create room in one of your guest rooms where you can actually do quilting effectively. It is very important for people to do things they love in their homes. Clutter prevents that. Clutter keeps you stagnant, it holds you back. And so we get rid of the things that we don't need or love. And we keep only things that we need or love, and hopefully both, that you need them and you love them both. But the purpose is to make room for life. The purpose is not so you have less, it's to make room for your passions. And one thing that I have discovered is that without beauty, you will never declutter. people go to the store, if you go to the Lowe's or the Home Depot or the Walmart and you go to the home organization aisle, it's not pretty. And so why do we think that if we go into those aisles and buy a bunch of things to bring to our homes, that's going to be good? So what I find all the time is that people do not use all the storage containers that they bought, and they don't use them because they're not pretty. Once they start replacing those ugly storage containers with beautiful things, they start organizing their home. So there's this intrinsic connection between beauty and order. Step number 7. Oh, I forgot to say how that connects to the body. So in the body, think about clutter in the body, right? Kidney stones, that's clutter. Gallbladder stones are clutter. And any kind of cysts are clutter. And endometriosis, that's clutter, right? And so anything that the body should have eliminated that didn't get eliminated, that is clutter in the body. And you would never say that's good. People don't ever say, I love my kidney stones. But you find people saying, oh, I love my clutter. I don't want to get rid of my clutter. I love it. It makes me feel comfortable. If you think that your clutter makes you feel comfortable, you have become numb to it. There's no ever adjusting to clutter. You can only become numb to it. And so just like the body needs to let go of things, we have to let things go from our home when they no longer serve us. Then we come to step number 8. And step number 8 is about setting goals. People have to set goals. And those goals need to be in alignment with their life mission. So in Feng Shui, we are huge on life missions. Life missions are super, super important. And I know it's not just Feng Shui, right? In a lot of schools of thought, you're going to find that people talk about life missions and they're really interested in life missions. The difference in Feng Shui is that your life missions do not come with martyrdom. So the idea in Feng Shui, what we teach, is that before you came into this lifetime, in heaven, you made a contract. And that contract was made of all the things that you wanted to learn, be, do, and experience as an individual, and the things that you were asked to do for others, right? But also in a contract, is stipulated all the help you are going to receive, like your salary, if you're going to have an assistant, if you're going to have a company car, if you're going to have a company phone, all those things are in a contract if you're going to get employment. So also in life, heaven has made a commitment to give you everything that you need in order to fulfill your life missions. And heaven wants you to fulfill your missions from a place of happiness and health, because it is when you are happy and healthy, that's when you are the most capable of getting things done. So in Feng Shui, we have a tool called the Bagua map, which is like a tic-tac-toe, that you align the bottom of that chart with the entrance to your home. And so you subdivide the home into 9 squares or 9 rectangles. And each of those is assigned a life area. So at the back, from left to right, when you are looking at the home from across the street, at the back, you have wealth, fame, and love. In the middle, you have health, good luck, and creativity. And at the front, you have wisdom, career, and travel. But there's more to each life area, right? There's not just one thing for each life area. But the idea is that your home is actually a 3-dimensional vision board. And certain spots have a certain significance. And if you put a reminder of what you want to achieve in your life in a certain spot, it has more power in that spot than in another spot in your home because of the way the life areas are assigned. So for example, if a woman is single and she wants a partner, and she can put an image of, say, 2 lovebirds. But if she puts it in the foyer, it's not going to have the same effect as if she puts it in the far right corner at the back. Because all these spaces in the home, they have energies. And those energies are associated with the location of the organs in the body. So in some schools of Feng Shui, they do it by the directions. But in our school, we do it by the location of the organ. So it's based on biology and psychology, also because each organ comes with an emotion. I forgot to mention that we're talking about the 5 elements. And so each of the 5 elements comes with an emotion. And the elements are also distributed on the floor plan of your home. And so those the position of the life area, the emotions that come with that, that all influences how you set your goals. And when you put your goals into your three-dimensional space, that is a lot more powerful than when you put them on a collage when you're doing a vision board. And so, according in Chinese medicine, right, a person has to live with purpose. They have to have goals. If they don't, they become despondent, they become bored, and boredom is the first step to trouble. And so the Chinese doctors, the acupuncturists, they actually have protocols to reconnect people with their life missions. And again, it's not one life mission, it's your life missions. As for example, what kind of a parent did you come to be? You have contracts with your kids to be a certain kind of parent. And when your kids come to your life, you have responsibilities with them. And you have things that you have promised in spirit form. You have promised your kids that you would do for them. And then you also have agreements, you have contracts with your partner. And so all of your life missions are different depending on what life area it is. You have certain things that you want to do with your career. You have certain things that you want to achieve as a couple. There are certain things that you want for your family. There are certain spiritual heights you want to reach. You want to learn things, so there's all these life areas, and you have different goals for each of those. And they're all connected to your life missions. And so in Feng Shui, will help you define what those are and how you enhance them depending on what it is that you want to do. And then finally, we come to life area 9, and that is about position of furniture, right? So step 7, which is about decluttering, is about organizing and bringing beauty into the home. Step 8 is about decorations, because all your decorations are giving you messages of what you want to do in your life. So if you match your decorations with your goals in the floor plan, you're going to do a lot better. And then step 9 is about the positioning of furniture. And this has to do with living life from a place of power, from not being meek, from actually going after the things that you want. And in order to do that, you need to have the command of your life. And in Feng Shui, you need to have the command of the room. So for example, in your home office, you need to be able to sit in a way that you see the whole room, not with your desk pushed against the wall where you have your back to the room, right? And if you have to do that because there's no other way to organize things, then there are things that you can do to counteract that. But the idea is that you do things from a place of power so that you can achieve the things that you want to achieve.
Wow, there was so many light bulbs going off as you were doing that. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this explains so much. And I feel like I've had people kind of scoff at me, like decorating and keeping my house clean is a little bit superficial sometimes because they're not doing that. And so I've actually
Yeah.
felt really judged, but I have noticed that it affects my mood, my emotions,
Mhm.
my power. And
Yes.
I grew up in a home that was completely dysfunctional. It was dirty. The wall, I still have dreams about the wallpaper. It affected
Oh,
me
definitely.
to
Yes.
where when I have a nightmare, I go back to that dysfunctional house. It's actually
It
like,
doesn't surprise me because dysfunctional homes create dysfunctional families.
right. And
You
it
want
was
to
a
have a
dysfunctional,
functional family, you need to have a functional home.
right? And I spent a lot of time with our home, which is perfectly small and contains all of our
And
our
full of
things.
beauty.
Yeah, and
I've
and
been
it
very impressed looking, like when you post videos on social media, I've always been impressed at how pretty and how clean you keep it.
Thank you. Yeah, it meant a lot to me because of that chaotic energy when I was a child that I want my children to feel comfortable and safe and inspired, I'm an
Yeah.
artist. I want us to be able to, because we do school here, I work from home, and so it's really important to me that my home feels comfortable. And I'm always decluttering, and I'll even tell my husband like I feel so good when I drop the donations off. I just feel like
Yeah.
I've lost 10 pounds. And a lot of people, I have friends and they really don't do that. And when I go over there, they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for the mess." They apologize. Their life's chaotic, and all that. And I'm like, these are the same people that I feel judged by, because I
Yeah.
over think it, but not really. It's just like you say, like if it's beautiful, then you enjoy keeping it clean. And I really feel like it's been like an energetic thing for me because I didn't know all these technical things that you're speaking.
Yes.
But it's
And
just like
here's,
you can feel
yeah.
it, you know?
And here's the thing. One of the things I tell people is you can put your home on autopilot. If your home is organized and you have systems for cleaning it, you can put it on autopilot. And then people misunderstand the term autopilot, like everything's going to be done by itself. Like, no, because if you think about the autopilot in a plane, right? The pilot still has to take off. They still have to land. After they land, there's a lot of technicians that have to come in and check everything, make sure that it's safe, make repairs when needed, right? But there's that moment, when you reach a certain height in the airplane and the pilot says you can now undo your safety belts. And that's the time to relax. That's the time when you can watch a movie, when you can read a book, when you can take a nap. And if you put your home on autopilot by keeping your home organized and having systems for upkeep, you can have those moments in your life too. You can have the time to read the book. You can have the time to relax and take a nap. You can have the time to watch a movie.
Hmm.
Those precious moments that you want to have, that you really want to enjoy in your life, they are possible by the systems that you put in and by the organization that is something that you have planned.
Right. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really awesome thinking of, healing as somebody that works with the vital force regularly. You were talking about chi, and I was like, this
Yeah.
is connecting a lot of dots because, we're working within, but if there's dysfunction and disharmony outside, it's like, it almost needs to reflect what the work that we're doing on the inside. And so it
It
seems
does.
like the way you're explaining it, that these things that we do to maintain that wellness of our home, I don't know, it's like mirroring the work that we're doing internally. And it's really a beautiful way of viewing that as a healing process.
And I actually wrote a book. The book is called Room by Room: Feng Shui Secrets for a Happy Life. And it's over here. Um, so this red book, Room by Room, Feng Shui Secrets by a Happy Life, and my latest book, which is the teal book, The House of Many Gardens, Feng Shui Secrets for Home Landscaping. But the red book, Room by Room, I wrote that book to illustrate how dysfunctional homes create dysfunctional families and how functional homes create functional families. So the dysfunctional home was my parents' home. Things were just done in a way that did not invite life, that it did not invite happiness or dialogue or respect. And I contrast that with the home of my grandmother, who was fantastic, and her home was full of love. And as a child, I was so interested in the contrast. The feeling that I got walking into my grandmother's home, where there was a beautiful entry table with a mirror and a lamp and a healthy plant, to compare that to my parents' home, where when you open the door, there was a piece of carpet that had been cut to wipe your feet, instead of having a proper welcome rag like my grandmother had. No entry table, no lamp, no love, just the practicality. And also in the book, I talk about what we did. And my husband and I, he came from a broken home, I came from a dysfunctional home. And so what we did in our home to make sure that our home would house that happiness that we were after.
Mm, I love that. It's really cool to see how, you guys have overcome that background. And,
Yeah.
it's like taking these little steps. Like I really didn't like that feeling when I was a child. So let's change it. Instead of trying to change everything all at once, it's like, well, step by step, that makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm going to replace that lamp, or I'm going to put, the happy plant here because it feels empty.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like letting your intuition guide you while also studying the concepts and principles, and letting them um instruct you. But, I feel like there is that intuitive element of like, I really love the energy of this plant, so I'm going to choose this one. Um,
Yes.
So yeah,
Because
that's
you can feel it. Feng Shui is something you don't just see, it's something that you feel.
right.
Yeah,
Right. And as you're explaining, like, well, it's the life force, and our life force within us is responding to that, and if you think about like the concept of homeopathy, which you're familiar with, which is like curing like, well, if you have that opposite, that thing that's just repulsing you over and over again, well, absolutely, I could see how that would affect you and your overall
exactly.
wellness.
And you get the relationship of how it affects your body, right?
Right.
Your
Right.
your space affects your emotions, it affects your reactions, which it means it affects your chemistry because your
Right.
emotions cause certain chemicals to be released into the body. So you're affecting your chemistry, you're affecting your health.
Right. So it goes deeper than just, oh, decorating, where some people might
Yes.
look at it that way of like, oh, I'm just hiring an interior designer. Well, it's, a more, like you said, holistic approach
Hmm.
to decorating. So it is decorating, it is rearranging, but it's coming at it from that beautiful place of restoring it into that state of wholeness, which is just
Yeah.
a lot of the interior designers aren't necessarily taking that approach. So it's a little bit different.
No, and I have seen, because I've been doing crochet for so many years, right? So I have met people who hired a designer and they never used the spaces the designer had decorated. They used the little space that they decorated themselves.
Hmm.
And I've also seen cases where the decorator imposed their taste and was not respectful of the desires of the people. And sometimes, people just want the joy of choosing everything. People want the joy of going to the store, in another store, in another store, until they find the perfect rug for their living room that puts everything together, ties everything together.
Hmm.
And people should have that joy of going to the store and finding the perfect lamp and the perfect rug and the perfect cushions. That is something that is integral to human life. The nesting instinct is only second to reproduction. So that's something that you can't farm out, like you can say, I mean, not to these designers, right? But you can't transfer the responsibility of your home completely 100% to a designer. You can hire a designer, but you have to interact with them. You have to make sure that you make the choices. You have to make sure that this designer understands what you want and that allows you to participate in a way that creates a beautiful space. It's just not something that you can throw money at.
Right.
If you throw money at it, you could end up with a really beautiful space that doesn't create good luck.
Right. And I see these celebrity homes, when I was a kid, like cribs, and it's
Yeah.
just dead. They're boring, they're huge, like you say, the mansions and it feels like you could just have that echo response and the color is
Yeah.
sad. And I imagine that they have so many homes because they're like, well, I'm feeling bored of this one. I'm going to go to the next one because it's just dissatisfying to even watch it. Like I couldn't imagine getting comfortable in some of those rooms because they almost feel
Yes.
like being in a hotel or like in a hospital room or
Yeah.
something, and they're just not full of life. But like you were saying, like the chi, you need it to be smaller because of that. But you
Yes.
can
And
absolutely see that just
yeah.
through videos of other people's houses.
And here's the thing, some celebrities, because they feel that void, right, of having this humongous house that their family can never fill, they're constantly inviting people to stay over, or they have really wild, crazy parties because a wild, crazy party will charge your home. When people
Right.
are
Okay.
exhilarated and dancing and stuff, screaming, that's going to charge the home. It's going to last a few days. And
Right.
so you also see in celebrities that they have this constant partying. And
Hmm.
probably what they're trying to do is charge the home.
Right. And there's that last lack of satisfaction because not only did they pay someone to make all of those choices for them, but they're not really spending the time and putting their presence and love into it. They
Yes,
just have this like all these things, and it's like, but do they mean anything to you? I really loved going out and finding each thing in my home. And I really don't
yes,
buy anything at this point because I have all of the main things that I need. So if I get something, I'm
exactly.
like, I love the thing, you know?
Totally love it. And isn't it beautiful that you can tell a story of
Right.
every single thing that came into your home, you know?
Right. Right. And I love when you were saying like it's not just about minimalism because some people come into my home and they're like, oh, I couldn't handle this many things. And I'm like, well, I love all of these things, you know?
Yeah,
And I'm an artist, so I'm constantly like putting my art up. It sells and I'll make another
yeah,
piece, you know, for that
yeah.
area. But um, I just the minimalist thing doesn't it never really has appealed to me. So I know some people,
Me neither. And a lot of people confuse feng shui with minimalism. Like if I go to, say, Canva or Pixabay and I search for feng shui, all they return is minimalist images because people equate feng shui with the Japanese tea house kind of
Mhm.
aesthetic, right? Which is beautiful. But the origin of feng shui is in China, and the Chinese were not minimalists.
Right,
They were the
right.
opposite. They were maximalists. And so the idea is to fill up your home with things that you really truly love, things that are good quality, and especially things that have chi in a strong way. For example, original art. The kind of chi that you bring into your home when you buy original art is totally different than when you just buy a photograph that has been reproduced 500,000 times.
Hmm.
It's just so different. The energy of original art really focuses the chi in your home.
That's good to know because, when I go through like Ross or something, I'll see this painting. I'm like, oh, the colors are really beautiful, but it's
Yeah,
it's not alive.
it's not.
And
And then
maybe
you also have go on.
it's like maybe it is what you're saying. Like it's been so reproduced that the original love and passion that went into creating it has, it's just been like distorted. And then when I see it, I'm like, the colors are really pretty, but I wouldn't want it.
Yes,
So,
and also you have to be careful because there's some places where you go and they're actually selling you art that has been painted by hand and it's really, really cheap. And you're thinking, how, right? How
mhm.
can you buy for $18 something that was made by hand? And they actually have these art factories where they have people. So, for example, one person only does the sky, and the other person only does the boat, and the other person only does the bush. So they have them like in assembly lines, and they keep moving them, moving the canvas. So that person only does that. And so that is factory work. That's not actually art. And so,
Right.
well, it may have more chi than a reproduction, but it also may have suffering with it. It's to me, it's really important because of the quality of the chi. It's really important to buy things that are, uh, what is the term? Fair share.
Uh-huh.
The term where equal exchange, fair share things, where you know that the people were actually paid a fair amount and that were well treated when they were making that thing that you bought. That's very important
Right.
to me. You can't always do it, right? You can't always do it, but if you can, I try to go that direction.
Right. Yeah, I really love that as an artist because I feel like sometimes people are like, well, they don't see the value. And I'm like, but I put my love into this. I
Yeah,
put love into every single thing that I make. And it
every
almost
single
feels kind
stroke.
of like Reiki, like you're charging it, you're
Yeah,
creating it, you've given birth to it, and now I'm going to allow you to purchase it. And that to
yeah,
me is like an honor. And so I'm like, why would you not want to buy original art?
exactly.
But
Yeah,
some people just don't see the chi aspect of it,
it's
buying it straight from an
actually,
artist.
yeah, it's actually a symbol of wealth. Original art is a symbol of wealth. If you want to do one thing to make your home feel and look more wealthy, buy original art.
Mhm. I love that.
I
Yeah.
remember one time I was working with a client and she made really good money, but her home didn't show it, right? And so I asked her, if you just came into your living room right now, how much would you say this person makes? And she said an amount that was almost half what she made. And so I asked her, what do you think you could do to make it feel more wealthy? And she said, I have a rug in the basement. So we went to the basement and got the rug out. It was a beautiful Persian style rug, gorgeous. And so then I asked her, how much would you guess this person makes if you didn't know it was your house, right? And she said, I'd probably say so much. And it was um, closer to what she actually made, right? And so then I asked her, so what would it make it feel like it's actually the home of a person who makes as much money as you make, which was a lot. And she said original art. And once she added the original art, she had the feeling that, yeah, I've made it. I'm being
Right.
successful. My survival is assured. And so you're not going to get that from a print that you get, in a big box store.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
That's really cool to be able to see like why that is and why it feels
yeah,
lifeless and why, and I love supporting local artists. It makes
me
me
too.
feel good. And then every time I see that, I feel good knowing that not only do I love it, it's beautiful, but I was able to help another artist, you know.
Exactly. And there's an exchange of energy when you buy the original work, right? And so when I used to live in Mississippi, we went to a fair and I got this little iguana painted on a piece of metal that looks like it's going up a branch, right? And every time I look at it, I think of the artist and I bless the artist, because I just get such a jolt of joy when I look at it. And I think I hope he feels it. And you as an
Right.
artist, when you think of all the things that you have created and sold, and you think about them, so there's that connection that you make with the artist, or as an artist that you make with the buyer, that's always there, and that's good chi.
Right. Right. Yeah, and it's like it is that energy exchange. And I try to put a lot of light into because I like to make art that's colorful, that's beautiful, that has Venusian properties. And so
Yeah,
it feels good to know that someone's walking past that. Even when they send me a picture and I'm like, oh, that's probably not where I would place that. But but at least it makes them
yeah,
happy and it makes me feel good as the artist to be able to add that little bit of light into someone's life like that. So
exactly. Yeah.
awesome. Well, I've really loved learning about all this. It's just fascinating to me. I can't wait to look more into your books. For those that are interested in purchasing them, where can they buy them to support you?
Well, they're available on Amazon, but if you go to my website, it's probably easier to find them. So my website is no spaces, 9 steps to fengshui.com. So feng shui is FENGSHUI. So 9 steps to fengshui.com. But if you can't figure out how to spell feng shui, you can just type spacearrangement.com, no spaces, spacearrangement.com. That will redirect to 9 steps to fengshui.com. And when you go to my website, at the top, you will see in the menu free and low cost. And if you click on that, you will get direct links to my books.
Awesome. Yeah, is that also where they would go to book like a consultation?
Yes, and there's also a menu item that says work with Moni, so you can go there and you can apply to work with me. And after you apply to work with me, if we see that you're a good match, we'll send you a link so you can meet with somebody from our team to make sure that everything's going to work well. And then, of course, the consultations I do myself, but my team does the conversations,
Awesome.
before people start working with me.
That's great. Are there any other things I feel like I might have seen, maybe a Mighty Networks or something
Yes,
else that
yeah,
you're
I
doing?
just shared that today. So, in the past, I teach courses. If you go to fengshuiforas.com, that takes you to my teachable school. So I sell courses there. And I've always been big on creating community. So whenever I taught a course, I created a Facebook group so that people could meet each other and interact with each other. And it was a lot of fun, but Facebook has changed so much in the last year. The engagement is dismal. So what I have done is I got an account in this company called Mighty Networks. And my network is Feng Shui Friends in Mighty Networks. And you're also going to find a link to that on my website. There is a one-time entry fee for people who are new to me, and that's just to keep away the bots and the spammers and people who um, would reduce the energy, lower the vibration of the group.
Hmm.
But people who know me, like if you have met me in any way, just reach out to me and I'll let you in. And
Okay.
so in this group, we're going to have challenges. We're going to have a lot of events and really fun things. So every day, and there's this part of the community that you can join for free or for the price of one time $1, just to screen out the people that we don't want there that would just be spammy. And so in that community, I'm sharing my articles, which I have written over 500 articles on Feng Shui, and I'm sharing my videos and small lessons, and people get to know each other. And I'm gonna have another tier of the membership, which is gonna be it's gonna be called the Good Luck Club. So we're gonna have challenges where every month somebody gets they get a freebie, they get a course, so a downloadable asset and a course, and they also get to participate in a challenge, and there's going to be prizes and all sorts of things. And so I find that things are better done in community, and that people who actually have the sensitivity to understand that their spaces affect them, they don't always find support among the people they know in real life, right? And so you need this online community because people think you're crazy for reorganizing your home, right? Because they're not understanding that your home affects your luck. And so it's super, super important to have a community where you can meet other people who cheer you, that support you, and that do things with you. It's easier to do things in a group. So actually, our first journey we're going to do is going to be a decluttering journey. That's going to be super fun. And then we're going to do, and I have it all scheduled for the year, right? So there's going to be something done on gardening. We're going to do something on curb appeal. So everybody's front of the home is fantastic. And so the most important thing here is to make sure that you join a community that understands you, that gets you, and that supports you and cheers you when you're making progress with your activities, right? That is essential. As the world is changing. Also, if you go to my website, you can see on the menu, there's a Year of the Snake forecast. You can look at that. I'm really good at doing this. Every year I do an analysis of the Chinese year and what it's going to be like. And man, the last few years, I have been so spot on and getting better. And even though the Year of the Snake just started, I nailed the forecast for this year. So things are going to be changing in ways because of the snake sheds the skin, right?
Ah.
And so the whole world is changing, and you're going to feel like you don't know what ground to step on. You need a community. And some of the other things that we're going to do in other tiers of the membership is we're going to teach people how to future-proof their life, how to make sure that they use their home to control their emotions, to make sure that they don't feel desperate, to make sure that they make good decisions. I'm even going to teach people how to shop to save money, because I'm a master shopper, and so we're going to teach people how to save on groceries, for example. All these things that are part of the home. Somebody was saying, like, how is that feng shui? And of course it is feng shui, because you have to have a pantry.
Right.
You have to fill up your pantry. You got to make sure that you have food in case of an emergency. Just we're like 2 hours away from the place in North Carolina where some people didn't have roads for 2 weeks, right? Some of those small towns, they lost the only road that could take you there for 2 weeks or more. And so as things could happen, part of your mind is always worried about what catastrophe might happen. Even if you're a very optimistic person, we're just wired. Part of your brain is always looking for danger. Actually, I saw some information that every 20 seconds, your eyes scan the room for the leopard in the tree, signs of danger and stuff like that. And so we're going to be doing a lot of that. And I think this is essential that people have a community. So you have to have communities where you live, but you also have to have online communities. You need to be able to connect with people. And it's also very important to have connections and relationships with people that live in other states and in other countries from where you live.
Great, because you're going to get that variety of different perspectives from all the
Yes.
different
Yeah.
cultures, and it's really bringing a lot of fresh new energy in, because even our little communities where we live, sometimes that kind of starts to feel stagnant. And so that's where I love the online communities that I have, because I can meet people that are similar to me, but they bring these beautiful, fresh, this living perspective into my life that I'm just not going to get if I just have friendships, with people that are living and having similar practices to me. So the
Yeah.
online stuff has been such a gift, and I love that you're
And
creating this
you learn
community.
so much from the perspective of other people. Like if you
Mhm.
look at what may be happening politically in one country, and you can get the perspective from a person who's in a different place in the world, your the way you see your own country changes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love this. I love that you're creating this beautiful space for people to connect and that you've, written these wonderful books and do this work that is very needed and appreciated. So thank you
Yes.
so much for
Thank you so much for inviting me.
yeah. Yeah, I really love this episode. I cannot wait to share it. So thank you. And thank you all for tuning in. Check us out next time on the Astral Hour.